So you may or may not be aware of the recent Twitter debate between Angry Joe and Dan Stapleton, an editor at IGN, regarding Joe's review of Titanfall. The dispute was centered around the part of Joe's review where he used a screen cap of the IGN review, quoted IGN when they said, "Believe the hype," which is the dumbest fucking thing to say when you're supposedly an unbiased media outlet, and discussed how the mainstream games media outlets were ignoring critical flaws in the game and giving the game really high scores. Dan decided to respond to Joe, stating that he misquoted and misrepresented IGN, and it got ugly. I'm gonna link the article in the description, which features a bunch of screen caps of the argument. It's really long, but I urge you to read it since it gives context to what I'm gonna say. I know they supposedly made amends, but I find this to be very interesting. People know that I'm a fan of Angry Joe. I really do like his videos and opinions. People also know that I'm not a big fan of IGN for very obvious reasons. Not the stupid, "they're paid off to give Call of Duty a high score review" argument, but on the basis that they're a hype website and not an unbiased games news outlet. That being said, I'm coming to this from the middle ground, and I have to say that Joe didn't handle it well. He was in the right all the way. Dan was wrong. But I'm going to explain the mistakes both of them made. Let's start with Dan. Firstly, his accusation was false. Joe in no way, shape, or form pinned everything he said on IGN or even misrepresented IGN. He literally used their review as an example, which means what Joe was saying was accurate, and said he was surprised by the number of outlets giving the game a 9 or a 9.5, not just you. To take his review in such a literal sense is fucking retarded, and to dispute him on what IGN has said in the past, especially when your "believe the hype" quote was on the front page of Origin, makes no sense. Secondly, Dan continued to argue that IGN gave Titanfall an 8.9, so it wasn't a 9 and therefore Joe was deliberately misleading. What the fuck? I don't give a shit how your rating system works with the whole great and amazing thing you do. An 8.9 is a fucking 9. Are you seriously trying to say that a game which receives an 8 is equal to a game that receives an 8.9, but a game that receives an 8.9 is not a 9 because of your system? No, that's dumb. Yeah, it's not exactly a 9, but what Joe was talking about was not just the number you gave it, but the content of your review, which you don't seem to understand. I think the number rating system is so prone to flaws when people take the number out of context. I will admit that when I was younger, I did this a lot, especially with Call of Duty games. I've matured since then, and Joe reacted in the way that I would now. The campaign was dog shit, utter dog shit, and I've watched the IGN review. You really don't cover the campaign flaws that much, and you barely picked up on the serious flaws within the game. That, my friend, is what Joe was talking about, alongside the issues with the game at launch. Joe wasn't picking on you, it was everyone. He and others like myself were pointing out. Polygon, Machinima, GameSpot, all equally guilty of doing this. He used you as an example, nothing more. Now, Joe really shouldn't have started to call Dan names. That makes him look petty. Yes, I call people names in my videos, and he has every right to call people names in his videos. When debating people in the comment section, however, I try to conduct myself with more restraint, which Joe did not in this situation. However, Dan should not have started the argument. Why? Because he's a journalist. Joe is a YouTuber. As Total Biscuit, the wise and almighty, would say, he's enthusiast press. You, on the other hand, are employed at a major website exclusively. You shouldn't have said a fucking thing. As a professional, you have to take the high road, whether you like it or not. I understand you're just a human being like everyone else, and that you'll likely get pissed off by the people who accuse you of being bought out by Activision or EA. But that doesn't mean you should have addressed Joe in any way. You kicked the hornet's nest, and Joe fought back, as he should have, rightfully. He was right, and you were wrong.